Dracula Untold is an US horror fantasy film from 2014. The PG-13 production received mostly mixed feedback, grossing just $217 million worldwide at an estimated cost of $70 to $100 million, considered a flop. Gary Shaw's directorial debut deals with the supposedly unknown origin story of Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1897. See the same-named review. It is also loosely based on the story of the 15th century military leader of Wallachia, today part of Romania, founded in 1859, Vlad III, sure name Dracula, meaning son of the dragon, also known as Vlad Tepes, translated as Vlad the Impaler. Who first appeared in 1974 as a motif in Dan Curtis' worth-watching British TV movie Dracula, with a screenplay by Richard Matheson, among others the author of Kolchak, Incredible Shrinking Man and I Am Legend, which is essentially based on Bram Stoker's novel. However, the characters Renfield, Jon Stewart and Quincy Morris are missing, and Jonathan Harker dies contrary to the original as a vampire. Also, unlike the novel, a picture of Mina's friend Lucy reminds Dracula of his deceased wife, whom he then seeks out and turns into a vampire. When she's killed by Arthur and Van Helsing, he has flashbacks to his former life as Vlad the Impaler, who, out of anger at the loss of his wife, turned to the dark forces in order to defy death. Coppola also used these two key elements in his 1992 movie, which differ from the novel. The portrayal of Dracula and Vlad the Impaler as one and the same person, and the relationship between Dracula and his reborn wife, though in his case Mina, not Lucy as here.
Swing low in a dark glass hour, you turn and cower, see it turn to dust. Move on a stone dark night, we take to flight, snowfall turns to rust. Seeming to fuse in mind like a nursing rhyme. Fat man starts to fall, here in a hostile place, I hear your face start to call.
In 1979, Doro Nastase's Romanian monumental film Vlad Tepes is known in Germany as The True Life of Count Dracula. In this communist propaganda production from the time of Ceausescu, the dictator back then, Prince Vlad ascends the throne of Wallachia in 1456 and fights against the Ottoman Turks on the battlefield, but also against the Hungarian boyars, translated nobles, at his court, who make up the majority of his army. By making concessions to the common people, he releases those sentenced to death, protects merchants in particular from robbery and murder by declaring impalement, which was once only intended for serious criminals, to be the general punishment. He creates the basis for loyal followers and his own princely army. As Vlad refuses to pay tribute and take an oath as an vassal, Sultan Mohammed marches into the country but fails to overthrow the prince. In the end, however, he becomes the victim of a boyar intrigue. His renegade brother becomes his successor with his sultan's army and spends 12 years in the Hungarian king's dungeon, before he ascends the throne again for 2 months, only to fall victim to treason once more. This political drama in form of a heroic epic/adventure is well worth seeing and combines supposedly authentic and fictional entertainingly.
If you think that I've been losing my way, that's because I'm slightly blinded. And if you think that I don't make too much sense, that's because I'm broken-minded.
In the year 2000, however, this does not apply to Dark Prince, the, according to the title, also supposedly true story of Dracula. In the US TV junk, which is not even too stupid to constantly refer to the then Wallachia directly as Romania, where the filming took place, the story of Vlad is more or less retold in the cheapest smear theater way. But especially in the last third, where he is supposedly killed by his brother, but is cursed by the Orthodox Church beforehand and therefore returns as a ghost, pulls a lot of things completely out of its ass. The unwatchable cheat package, Peter Weller can be seen in a supporting role who must have been in desperate need of a paycheck, on a Sci-Fi Channel level by Joe Chappelle. See also his horrible Halloween 6 cucumber in the same named Swan song, was quite rightly stacked through the heart by critics and audiences.
have to lie. Shadows move in pairs, ring out from a bruised postcard in the shooting yard, looking through the tears. Out of the black slate time, we move in line, but never reach an end. Falling along straight down as the ice comes down, rivers start to bend.
In the 15th century Transylvania, Vlad III, the Prince of Wallachia, together with his beloved wife Mirena, brought about a long period of peace and ensured that his people were protected from the Ottoman Empire. However, when the Sultan demands 1,000 boys from the country, including Vlad's only son, for his army, he turns to a vampire he discovered by chance in a cave while exploring the mountains, which recognizes in the prince a worthy successor and the opportunity to end his curse, and therefore gives him a kind of trial period. For the vampire superpowers, more precisely, he turns into a bats-controlling man, so Batsman, Vlad must take the curse upon himself and resist the unquenchable thirst for human blood for 3 days. After that, he will lose his powers and remain mortal.
And if you think that I've been losing my way, that's because I'm slightly blinded. And if you think that I don't make too much sense, that's because I'm broken-minded.
Dracula meets Nosferatu is a bit better than its reputation. In a trashy way, quite entertaining, and thanks to a passable cast and nice effects, not a bad movie. But also thanks to a nonsensical stupid story that is predictable at every second and a bloodless PG-13 rating, not a good one either. Everything is done here to humanize Dracula, actually a terrifying monster, and establish him as a sympathetic anti-hero, who sometimes is ridiculously overpowered. He practically mows down entire armies single-handedly with countless bats. and has to be artificially slowed down somehow by the simple-minded script, like with incomprehensible behavior. Of course, this is no longer scary or exciting, and what remains is a fantasy action wannabe romance in which everything has been seen much better somewhere else. A week before its release, there were still reports on reshoots to incorporate it into the planned movie universe. However, after the failure of Dracula Unwatched at the box office, Mission Impossible: The Mummy from 2017 suddenly became officially the first, and since absolutely god-awful garbage, next to this one looks like Citizen Kane and even a bigger flop, the only film in the so-called dark universe. In the end, Vlad is forced to drink the blood of his dying wife just before the deadline to save his son. He also transforms his wounded and dying followers into vampires with whom, after winning the battle, he goes to his death by magically removing the clouds. But he's brought back with blood by a mysterious person, it's the stupid Renfield replacement, and now lives to the present day. Meets the apparent reincarnation of Mirena, who goes now by the name Mina, and also the vampire from the cave who has been freed from the curse is sitting around in a bistro. Sure.